Shirou let out a small sigh. Sorry about this, Muramasa. Muramasa let out a groan. It's fine, but seriously, how do you keep ending up in shenanigans like this? And just for the record, I'm a blacksmith, not a fighter. Blame both Da Vinci and curiosity from, well, a lot of servants. Figures. Muramasa grumbled. Who was the one that started the entire thing? I have no clue. Currently, both Shirou and Muramasa were in Shirou's reality marble, and they were not alone. In the distance were Ritsuka, Mashu, Gadako, Fo, who had no interest in the fight, Arturia and her counterparts, Ilya and her counterparts, Miyu, Iris Field, Jaguar Man, Kuritsugu, Yemaiwaye and his counterpart, Okita and her counterpart, Musashi, Merlin, and surprisingly, Seal and Da Vinci. Musashi looked at the two excitedly. Finally, the biggest question that has been on my mind will be solved today. Who will win, Gramps or Shirou-kun? This will be exciting. As for why Shirou and Sengo Muramasa are having a sparring match, let time rewind for a bit. A few days ago. Musashi hummed as she was meditating in her room, thinking about something. After a few seconds, she gave up and laid back on the ground. Arg. It's useless. I can't get the question out of my mind, she yelled as she looked at the ceiling in front of her while flailing her arms and legs. Eventually, she stopped moving her arms and legs and stood up. Maybe I should take my mind off the question by doing something else instead. That should work at least, right? She thought to herself. Turns out, what was on her mind earlier still persists. No matter what she does to forget it. Jeez. No matter what I do, it is still there. Really? Why am I being bothered by the question of who is stronger between Gramps and Shirou-kun? It should be obvious that Shirou-kun could win. But Gramps has that punch of his, and he pulverized a person by cutting him in half. Gah. I don't know who is going to win. This is so frustrating. Is there something wrong? Musashi nearly jumped before turning around to see Okita Alter, who was munching on a stick of Odin. Oh, it's you, Okita Alter. Don't scare me like that. Sorry. By the way, it seems like something is on your mind. Is there something wrong? Musashi let out a sigh. Well, let me ask you a question first. Who do you think can win in a fight? Gramps or Shirou-kun? Gramps? Who is that? Muramasa. Ah, now I get it, Okita Alter said as she finished her Odin. Well, about that question, I have no idea either. I mean, I have never seen him fight before. You have before, haven't you, Musashi? Yes, but not that much though, arg. It's so frustrating. I want to know the answer right now. Musashi said. Why not ask Muramasa then? That's the problem. He's stuck inside of Shirou-kun's reality marble, and the only way to access it is through Shirou-kun himself. Then why not ask Shirou? He's busy at the moment, and I don't want to disturb him. That is a good point there. Both Musashi and Okita Alter were stumped at the conundrum as they tried to figure out a way to solve it. Luckily, an unexpected person came at the right time. Excuse me, but were you two just talking about Shirou just now? Both Musashi and Okita Alter turned around to see the source of the voice, which happened to be Seal of all people. Excuse me, but who are you? Musashi asked. Oh, it seems we haven't met yet. My name is Seal, an executor from the church. Seal greeted. I'm Musashi. I'm Okita Alter. Anyways, how do you know Shirou? I worked with him for quite a while. He was quite the fighter too. Really? What was he like on the battlefield? Musashi asked curiously. Well, if I have to put it, he was the craziest person I have ever seen on the field. I've seen him pull off moves that even had some executors baffled along with the amount of swords that he keeps pulling out. I swear, he is literally a walking armory. Speaking of which, You should have seen the swords he was pulling out. They were really lethal. And that was before he met his ancestor. Seal exclaimed, which got both Musashi and Okita Alter interested. Really? Shirou-kun was that strong before he met Gramps? Musashi asked. Yes. Speaking of which, I couldn't help but overhear your conversation earlier. Why were you talking about who is stronger between Shirou and his ancestor? Well, I was just wondering who is stronger between the two. Believe it or not, Gramps can actually put up a fight himself. I've seen him pulverize a servant in half with a single sword swing. And he's a blacksmith. At that moment, Seal was interested in Musashi's words. Really? A blacksmith was able to pulverize a servant in half with one sword swing, she asked, to which Musashi nodded in reply. Wow. Shirou's ancestor is quite the blacksmith, she thought to herself before continuing the conversation. I suppose the same is with you, Okita Alter? Yes. Musashi's question interests me as well. Unlike her, I haven't seen him fight. Aside from that time where he punched the King of Heroes into the sky. Okita Alter replied. That statement surprised Seal. What? Yes. Gramps actually punched that arrogant King of Heroes into the sky. You should have seen it. He literally went flying for quite the distance. Musashi exclaimed happily. For a moment, Seal was speechless before continuing the conversation. Are you saying that Shirou's ancestor can actually punch the King of Heroes into the sky like it was nothing? Both swords women nodded at her question, leaving the exorcist stunned. Okay, I take back what I think about Shirou's ancestor. He's not just any blacksmith. Just what kind of arm strength does he possess to make the King of Heroes fly with a single punch? She thought to herself before gathering herself and her thoughts. It was then another person decided to join the conversation, and that person is Arturia. Excuse me, but I couldn't help but overhear you three talking about Shirou and his ancestor. Ah, Arturia. Musashi said happily. Hey there, Arturia. Okita Alter said. Nice to meet you here, Arturia. Seal said politely. I take it that you heard everything? Yes, including the question about who is stronger between Shirou and his ancestor. Honestly, I can't blame all of you for trying to find the answer to that question as well. You have this question on your mind as well, Arturia? Musashi asked. Yes. Embarrassingly, me and my counterparts have been wondering about this question for quite a while now. Really? Did you and your counterparts come up with an answer yet? Okita Alter asked. Well, we're still debating on that. Both Okita Alter and Musashi sighed while Seal let out a chuckle. Wow. To think even the King of Knights has this question in her mind. It must be serious, she said jokingly. For a moment, everyone was in complete silence at the question at hand. After a few minutes of this, Okita Alter had an idea. Hey, why not ask Da Vinci for a demonstration? She asked. Arturia, Musashi, and Seal turned to Okita Alter. A demonstration? They asked in unison. Yes, we could ask Da Vinci for a demonstration of their skills. If anything, Da Vinci could think of some kind of reward that both of them won't refuse. Would that work? For a moment, everyone thought about the idea Okita Alter came up with and agreed with it. That could work. Arturia said, You are a genius, Okita Alter. Musashi said, Well, it is a bit far-fetched but reasonable. Let's try it out. Seal said, Back to the present. See. My idea worked. Okita Alter said, Yes, but for some reason, everyone else here knows. Musashi said as she looked at the crowd around her. I mean, Shirou-kun's family is one thing, but Master and his alternate counterpart, the King of Knights and her counterparts, her knights and mage, and even your counterpart. It was then Okita let out a sigh. I swear, I can't believe you asked Da Vinci for this. And just to see who is stronger between Shirou-san and Muramasa-san. Hey, at least the crowd is less unlike last time. Okita Alter said. Speaking of which, who do you think is going to win? I think it's Shirou-san because, not to disrespect Muramasa-san, but he's just a blacksmith. Hey, don't underestimate Gramps. He's strong, you know. Musashi said. I couldn't help but overhear what you said earlier. The crowd is less than last time? You mean a large crowd appears whenever something like this happens? Seal asked. When it involves Shirou-san / Shiroko-en, yes. Musashi, Okita, and Okita Alter said in unison, leaving Seal in disbelief. With the King of Knights, her counterparts, their knights, and Merlin. Well, this is unexpected, but at least we'll be able to figure out the question that's been on our minds. Arturia Lily said happily. I know, right? I wonder what kind of skills Muramasa have. Caster Arturia said. Although I hope Muramasa survives Shirou's sword summoning. Relax. Da Vinci told Shirou to not use his magecraft. Instead, it will be a simple sword match. Arturia replied. So, we're not going to see Mother spam swords then? Makes sense. Mordred said. Exactly, although I wonder how this fight will turn out. I mean, how will Muramasa deal with this? Lancer Arturia asked. Do you think Muramasa can do the same things as Shirou did? I mean, he did have a hand in altering Shirou's magecraft. Archer Arturia asked. I don't think so. Remember, he's a blacksmith, not a magus. So don't expect him to spam swords like Shirou does. Arturia Alter said, answering Archer Arturia's question. Lancer Arturia Alter nodded in agreement. Indeed. I can understand why you would think that though, considering that he has been residing in his reality marble for quite some time. I can see that. It would be interesting to see Muramasa do that. Rider Arturia Alter said. Could he though? Isn't he just a blacksmith? I mean, can he fight? Mysterious Idol X Alter asked. Well, maybe he probably trained with Shirou and picked up some moves from him. Mysterious Heroine X Alter replied. That could be possible. He did spend a third of his life here, although he was already dead at that point. Mysterious Heroine XX said. Do you think he's going to pull out that forging hammer of his at some point? Mysterious Heroine X asked. Definitely not. Santa Arturia Alter replied. Well, either way, this may reveal some answers. Ruler Arturia said. I can't believe you guys dragged me here. Agravane grumbled. Come on, Agravane. Surely you must be interested after seeing that punch from our queen's ancestor. Percival said. He's just a blacksmith. I don't see anything interesting with that. If anything, I'm not expecting a fight at all. Agravane replied. Percival let out a small sigh before turning to the others. How about all of you? Well, I am excited to see what our queen's ancestor is capable of. Gawain said. Me too. Gareth said excitedly. Me three. Lancelot said. So am I. Tristan said. Percival then turned to Merlin. And you, Merlin? Merlin let out a smirk. Well, I for one am interested to see how this turns out in the end. Not to mention that I have been wondering what he could be at this stage. I mean, think about it. He's been living in Shirou's reality marble for a while, so what does that make him? A servant? Or a harmless spirit? That's what's boggling me. Percival let out a smile. Well then, let's find out and see. With the Emiya family. Mama, not to put a damper on your mood, but I think Oniai-chan is going to win without a doubt. Ilya said. Why? Irisfeel asked with a pout. Kuro let out a sigh. Well, there are two people fighting here. One is a blacksmith, and the other is a person who has fought off against multiple dead apostle ancestors, corrupt magi, and an evil immortal space god. Not to mention that he's able to beat the king of heroes. It's pretty obvious who is the obvious winner here, she explained. Yes. The odds of Muramasa-san winning are practically 1 to 50. Miyu said. Exactly. Saitonai said. Iris-Veil's pout grew even bigger. Meanies. Kiritsugu let out a small sigh. Irai. It was then Emiya patted Kiritsugu on the back. You know how she is. Although they have a point here. Considering what my younger self did, I'm sure that Muramasa doesn't have a chance. He said. I agree. Emiya Alter said. It was then Iris-Veil turned to both Emiya and Emiya Alter. You two are mean to your ancestor. Show some respect to him. Meanwhile, Jaguar Man was having trouble of her own. This is troubling. I don't know who to root for. Shirou or Muramasa. This is frustrating. Not to mention they look exactly alike. It's going to be confusing to find out which one is which. With Ritsuka, Gadako, Mashu, and Da Vinci. Senpai, who do you think is going to win? Mashu asked. Honestly, I'm not sure. Sure, Shirou may have the upper hand with his magecraft and all, but like Musashi said earlier, I've seen him pulverize a servant in half. This may be hard to answer unless we all see the fight itself. Ritsuka replied, I see. How about you, Gadako-san? My opinion is the same, considering that I went through Shimusa as well, like him. Gadako replied, by the way, why did you bring Fo along? I'm pretty sure he does not have any interest in a fight. Well, for some reason, Fo-san likes being in Shiro-san's realty marble. Fo! Fo said happily. By the way, what are you doing here, Da Vinci-san? Mashi asked. 2 reasons. One, to see what Muramasa can do. The other is to uphold his bargain. It was then everyone heard Muramasa's voice in the distance. Hey Da Vinci, make sure you have that special medal for me later. Yeah, you'll get your special medal after this. Da Vinci said. After letting out his outburst, Muramasa let out a small sigh before facing his opponent. Well then, let's get this started, he said as he pulled out a nearby katana from the ground. Yes, don't hold back, Muramasa. Shirou said as he unsheathed his katana. Heh, you cheeky brat. Don't start crying if you get a broken bone or 2 from this. As the 2 men brought out their weapons, they began to position themselves in a stance like how samurai would do. For a moment, both Shirou and Muramasa said and did nothing as they pointed their katanas towards each other, looking at each other. At that moment, everyone in the reality marble was silent, waiting for anticipation over who would make the first move. Nobody moved a muscle as the only thing that was moving was the small blows of wind in the reality marble. Then a single leaf from a nearby tree dropped, and in an instant, the 2 lunged towards each other, clashing with their katanas as they swung at each other. Their blades clashed, creating sparks from the friction between the 2. After a few seconds, their blades separated from each other shortly before Shirou and Sengo Muramasa swung at each other again. This time, their blades did not end with one clash as both users began to swing at each other with ferocity, strength, speed, and technique. Then Muramasa began to push Shirou back, giving him an advantage as he went for him with a huge sword swing. In a surprise turn of events, the sword swing Muramasa unleashed sliced the ground, forcing Shirou to dodge. Wasting no time, Shirou thrusted his katana at Muramasa, forcing him to dodge as well. At the same time, Muramasa also brought his katana up and deflected Shirou's thrust, catching him off guard. Regaining his balance, Muramasa swung at Shirou again, forcing him to block before shortly kicking him in the stomach, separating the 2. For a moment, the 2 did not do anything as they were catching breath. Well then, looks like you improved a bit, Muramasa said with a smirk. Yeah, and you haven't lost your edge, Shirou replied. Plus, You had a hand in training me, remember? Yeah, and I kicked your ass the first time, remember? Muramasa sneered. Shirou grumbled. You don't have to remind me about that, he said as he lunged towards Muramasa. Then the two clashed again as their blades locked together once more. Shortly afterwards, their blades separated from each other as their users started swinging at each other with grace and technique. Not only that, but they also dodged some of their swings and moved around in various ways, giving the impression of a dance. Back at the audience, almost everyone was stunned at the fight between Shirou and Muramasa. After all, they would never expect a blacksmith fight equally against a person who has beaten both the king of heroes and an immortal evil interdimensional space god. Only Ritsuka, Gadako, and Musashi were the only ones not stunned as they saw him fight earlier, but even they did not expect him to fight this well against Shirou. For a moment, nobody said anything until Da Vinci broke the silence. Is everyone okay? Well, this is not what I expected, Seal said as she was in awe of the fight. Wow, this is what Muramasa-san is capable of, Okita said in awe. See, I told you Gramps is strong, Musashi said happily. Yeah, he's putting up a fight, Okita Alter said. Yeah, I would have never expected Muramasa-san to fight like this, Mashu said. Jeez, even in this timeline, Gramps is a monster, Gudko said. And that's not including the strengths he had when he was on the alien god side. You can say that again. It looks like they're fighting like master swordsmen, Ritsuka replied. Foe said. Hey, is this how a blacksmith fights? Mordred asked in disbelief. I mean, holy shit. I did not expect great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather to be this powerful. Seriously, look at the sword swings he just did. He's already putting up more of a backbone than Camelot's blacksmiths. Yeah, not to mention his movements. They're nearly identical to Shirou's, Arturia said. To be fair, Shirou did mention that Muramasa trained him earlier, so it would make sense. Still though, Shirou's ancestor is quite the blacksmith. Forging weapons of high quality while able to fight, he clearly has the qualities of a blacksmith worthy of my Camelot, Arturia Alter said. I agree with that. He seems to be quite capable, Lancer Arturia Alter said in agreement. Indeed. Rider Arturia Alter said. I definitely want him as a bodyguard now. Mysterious Idol X Alter said. Hands off. He's going to be my second helper. Santa Arturia Alter said. Hey, none of you sabers are going to get your dirty hands on him. I need him to fix my ship, and possibly make anti-saber swords. Mysterious Heroine X explained. He's a blacksmith, not a mechanic, XM. Mysterious Heroine X Alter said. HM, I wonder if he can make anti-foreigner weapons for me as well. Mysterious Heroine XX said. Did you see that? Muramasa was so cool. The way he and Shirou clashed against each other was amazing. They were like clang and swoosh, Arturia Lily said while trying to replicate their actions and sound effects by hand and voice. Yeah, I have never seen a blacksmith do something like this. Lancer Arturia said. Me neither. To think Muramasa trained him to do this. He's become quite the influence for Shirou. Ruler Arturia said. Indeed. It's like they are teacher and student. Archer Arturia said. Well then, that was interesting. Don't all of you agree with me? Merlin asked with a smirk as he was enjoying the show in front of him. Wow, that was amazing, Gareth said in excitement. It seems I stand corrected. He is an adequate smith compared to those in Camelot. Agravain states begrudgingly. Percival let out a chuckle. Wow, you changed your mind quickly. Not that I can blame you, of course. I mean, a blacksmith that can create high-quality swords and can fight at the same time? That is something a king would wish for. I agree with you, Percival. Our queen's ancestors' skills are quite amazing. Gawain said. Yeah. Tristan said before he noticed Lancelot, who was in deep thought. Lancelot, is there something wrong? Well, to be honest, I was wondering if I could ask him for a secondary sword. Lancelot said. At that moment, the rest of the knights of the round turned to Lancelot with wide eyes. What? He asked. If you're going to ask for one, then we want one as well, the knights said in unison. Meanwhile, Irisfeel looked at her entire family with a smug smirk on her face, while the rest of the Emiya family looked in shock. See, I told you so. I told you Muramasa was going to put up a fight, and none of you believed in me. How shameful. Why yes, to think Onii-chan's ancestor can fight like this, I'm stunned. Ilya said, and he's just a blacksmith. Just what did he do to have this amount of strength? Koro asked. Geez, he is no ordinary old man. He's an old man who can kick ass. Saitonai said. Language, Saitonai. Still though, I did not expect to see this side of Muramasa-san. Miyu said. Irisfeel's smirk grew further at her daughter's reaction before turning to the Yemiyas. And what about you two? Well, I guess I underestimated him. Yemiyai said. Me too. Yemiyai Alter said. Holy shit, Muramasa-san is strong. Jaguar Man yelled. Ritsuka did not say anything. Back at the fight, Shirou and Muramasa were still clashing against each other with their blades. Steel clashed against steel. Sparks flew from the force of the clashing, and they twirled around each other, dodging each other's sword swings with grace and elegance. After a while, Shirou decided to change tactics, and instead of swinging, he thrusted his katana at Muramasa multiple times, forcing him to dodge sideways as a way to put pressure on him. However, that was short-lived as Muramasa swung his katana, forcing Shirou's katana to go sideways as he then used the opportunity to punch him in the face. The punch hit him in the face, but Shirou quickly recovered and they swung at each other again. As they dueled against each other, Muramasa then kicked Shirou back, shortly separating the two before Muramasa went for him again. Shirou quickly regained his footing and blocked Muramasa's strike. For a moment, nothing happened as their blades were locked onto each other. Then the two pushed each other back, separating the two. To the audience's surprise, Muramasa lunged and then did a mini front flip before swinging his katana down on Shirou, forcing him to block. As their blades touched each other, Shirou shortly moved his katana downwards and moved back slightly, allowing Muramasa's katana to hit the ground. Using this as an opportunity, Shirou twirled around Muramasa and hit him in the back using the blunt side of his katana, knocking him to a distance. Muramasa groaned as he felt the ground after getting hit by the blunt side of Shirou's katana. Jeez, it's been a while since I tasted the ground. My host seems to have come up with something, he thought to himself before recovering. However, before he could fully do so, Shirou was already at striking range, which forced Muramasa to roll over sideways. He quickly stood up and defended himself. Their blades clashed, with their users holding onto the handles with all of their strength. Then, in a split second, both of their katanas were launched out of their hands and landed away from each other and their wielders. In a surprise turn of events, however, both Shirou and Muramasa began a hands-on brawl against each other, with Muramasa throwing the first punch. Shirou dodged it and proceeded to punch back against him. At that moment, everyone had one question in mind as they watched Shirou and Muramasa throw fists at each other. A brawl. They're using their fists now. How did it turn from a sword fight to them throwing punches at each other? Back with the fist fight, Shirou threw a punch at Muramasa's face and hit him on the cheek with great force, making Muramasa go back slightly. In response to that, Muramasa threw his fist at Shirou's stomach, which Shirou took. He wheezed from the force of the punch that hit him in the stomach and flew back slightly before landing on the ground. Wow, that punch was hard. I'm surprised that I managed to take it, he thought to himself as he was recovering from the stomach punch. Slowly, he got up. TCH, you always never hold back, don't you, Muramasa? Hey, never go half-assed in a fight, remember? If someone tries to kick your ass, you kick them back. And if they try to complain, remember they're the ones who started the fight first, so they can't make excuses when they lose. Muramasa replied as he was heading for his katana. You have a point there. Shirou grumbled as he was heading for his katana as well. Anyways, shall we end this? Yeah. Muramasa replied as he raised his katana in the air. Let's finish this. Shirou then raised his katana in the air and to the audience's surprise, they started chanting, Q Fate/Grand Order OSC. Epic of Remnant Emiya. I'm not the king of knights. Arturia/I'm not the invincible swordsman, Jubii. I'm not the one praised as the Hound of Ireland. Siu/I'm not the one praised as a master of espionage, Hanzo. I'm not the witch of betrayal. Medea/I'm not the renowned caster Abe no Saimai. I'm not the great hero, Hercules. I'm not the wandering swordsman, Sasaki. I'm not the fallen goddess, Medusa. And I'm not the counter-guardian of humanity, Yemiya. At that moment, everyone was shocked at what was happening. Is anyone hearing this correctly? Ritsuka asked nervously. Yes, Gramps is going to unleash his noble phantasm. Hidako replied. What/foe? Everyone else replied. Once seeking for the ultimate blade. A blade of steel cutting no flesh, nor bones and neither life. What I seek for is the clearance of resentment. The cutting of bonds, fate and destiny. Instantly, every sword in Shirou's reality marble started to light up before disappearing shortly. Soon afterwards, both Shirou's and Muramasa's katanas started to light up to the point that it looked like it was on fire. Red auras like harsh tornadoes began to swirl around them as they were charging up their noble phantasms. Senpai. Mashu asked. Okay, this is ridiculous. Gramps can use his noble phantasm as well. I mean, it was originally his, but he's still able to use it. Hidako asked in disbelief. His noble phantasm. Is it really that serious? Seal asked. Yes. After all, it's the one noble phantasm that killed an evil, immortal, space god, bested Gilgamesh while cutting his arm off, and surpassed 2 EAs. Ritsuka replied, shocking Seal. Oh shit. A clash between 2 Tsimagari Muramasas. Now this is getting crazy. Mordred yelled. You're telling me. Look over there. Da Vinci pointed at the sky. As they looked, they noticed that cracks were starting to appear. There's cracks in the reality marble already. And I have a bad feeling about this. Cracks already. But neither of them have swung yet. Musashi said. This can't be good. Okita said. Yeah, bad. Okita Alter said. Foe. 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 Foe said. Merlin looked at Foe's reaction with a surprised look on his face. Wow, I've never seen Kath Palag like this. That is, to free oneself from karma. Upon one's arrival are countless tools, carved over 1,000 blades, forming a pile of swords. This is the place where all paths cross. This is the place where all desires flow. This is the place where all deaths await. My whole life was for this single swing. At that moment, Shirou and Muramasa were ready to strike at each other with their noble phantasms, and it worried the Arturias and Shirou's family. Someone stop them, they yelled. The heart of the blade is right here. Take this. This is my Tsimagari Murama. Okay, now would be a good time to stop. Irisfiel said. Shirou and Muramasa were confused, only to see 2 giant mana fists made out of wire heading towards them. Huh, what the dash? And in an instant, Both fists made of mana bashed Shirou and Muramasa on their heads with great force, knocking them out. Immediately, they dropped their katanas, dispelling the chant and bringing the swords back. Everyone sighed in relief as this supposed sparring match was over. What a great show, you two, but don't go too crazy now, Irisfeel said. Well, that was close. Ritsuka said. No kidding. I thought my life was over there. Hidako replied. Still though, I can't believe even not as a heroic spirit, Gramps can still use his noble phantasm. Me neither. It's a good thing that Irisfeel was able to stop them. To be honest, I don't know what would happen if their Tsumagari Muramasas clashed against each other. Da Vinci said. Well, at least Irisfeel-san stopped them before anything bad could happen. Mashu said. Jeez, what kind of shit Shirou has been through to be able to do this? And I thought the missions we went through were crazy, but this takes the cake. Seal said. You can say that again. Speaking of which, did everyone here remember what Muramasa said earlier? Arturia asked. For a moment, everyone was trying to recall what he said, and it hit them. Yeah, Shirou did say he had a hand in training him. Arturia Alter said, Geez, a blacksmith, a fighter, and a trainer, great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather is scary and formidable. Mordred said, Agreed. Everyone else said, Now knowing the strength of Muramasa. Foe! Foe said, Now then, what are we going to do about these two? Merlin asked as everyone looked at the unconscious bodies of Shirou and Muramasa. Well, we're going to have to drag the idiot to Nightingale. As for Muramasa, we'll just let him be. Emiya suggested. It was then Irisfeel tugged on Emiya's ear, and despite being a caster, she was tugging on his ear pretty hard. What did I just say about respecting Muramasa? And don't call your younger self an idiot, she said with a menacing smile. Ow. Emiya Alter shrugged at Irisfeel. I'm glad that's not me on that end. Omake. Muramasa let out a small sigh as he was working in his forge with the newly acquired metal he received from Da Vinci. Phew, this new metal is quite good for some of my works. Guess it was worth having that sparring match with my host. Although did his mom have to end it by knocking both of us out? As he continued to work on his craft, it was then he heard a familiar voice. Muramasa. Upon hearing that familiar voice, he turned around to see Shirou with a bunch of papers with him. Hey there, Shirou. What's with those papers? He asked. Shirou sighed. Well, these are challenge requests from various servants who want to fight you. Muramasa's mouth dropped. You have got to be kidding me.